Welcome back. In this tutorial, I'm going to actually start the responsive images. They are really easy. I really think you're going to like it. If you remember from the other class, putting an image can be challenging. It could be too big. It could be too small. You had to manipulate it. Here, it makes it so much easier for you. So I'm on the bottom of page 346, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to click in the left column. I'm actually going to do it two ways. So I'm going to click in the left column over here, and then I'm going to go to Insert, Responsive Image. When I click the drop-down arrow, it gives me default, circular, rounded corners, and thumbnail. Obviously, circular makes things in a circle, very much like when we did the regular image and we did the rounded corners and we set them to a specific percentage. We could make it either rounded or we could make it beveled, however way we wanted to do it. The rounded corner is done for you automatically, and of course the thumbnail gives a specific size. We're going to choose the default. Once we choose that, we need to decide before, after, or nest. So we want to nest. Then you get this ugly gray thing over here that really looks like nothing. And the reason for that is because there's actually an image that's a gray image in here. If you go into the images and you click this here, you'll see any of those placeholders is this over here. If I had the actual thing showing, you would see that it's actually gray. I don't have it right now with the preview on, but it is. So I will go into here, and I will go into this. I will go into here, and that's the placeholder in here. So this is a good time for me to show you how I do my things. Every time I do a set of pages, I make a copy of it and define where the pages are. That way, if something happens in my wanderings, I can always go back to where I left off instead of trying to hit undo, 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 undo. So when I get done, I just duplicate this and I rename it. For instance, the last set of pages I did was up 346 to 351, and that's exactly what we're doing. So that's how far I've gone. And to be also on the safe side, I have a working directory, which I duplicate that. So that gives me 2 copies of my entire website just in case I mess something up. So we're going to go, let me get rid of this. We're going to go back in here. Now, I'm going to make a mistake. So let me show you what happens if you make a mistake and how to fix it. So the very next thing it's going to tell us to do is going to use the point to file to get the actual file itself. So let me turn a page, and you don't have to use the default point to file as it tells you in number 5 on 347. You can actually use the browse if you want. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a mistake. So let me bring my images over. I have 2 screens, and just to make it more visible for you, I'm going to just constantly move the files over here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to point to file, but I'm going to make a mistake. And I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to click on the Boulevard logo, PNG, and boom, nothing happens. And you go, man, I don't understand that, so let me change it. Here's the other way. Let me browse to it. Maybe there was just something wrong with it. So let me browse to the Boulevard logo, and boom. And you go, I don't understand that. And the answer is really very simple. This is the source and this is a link. What we did was we put an image where it's going to go to if we physically click on it. So what we need to do is we need to point to file or browse the file and actually do it from here. And that takes care of that. Then I'm going to delete this here. And we need to change the alt. And let's go back into, hopefully I spelled it right. Let's go back into CoView and see what's happening. Okay, so we have images, Boulevard, logo. Now, one thing you need to always be reminded of, whenever you download something from the web, an image or possibly from the book. A lot of times they are not going to correspond to our all lowercase. So what you're going to need to do is change that to all lowercase. In this particular case, it's all lowercase, so it's no big deal. But if you take a look at the image responsive placeholder, it's not. We're not using it, so it's not that big a deal. You're not going to put it on your website in all probability, but you are. So let's go back to live, and you can see we have it over here. So I've just finished 347. And we're going to click on Max 767, and you can see how big it is. It fills the whole screen. And you can read all that information on page 348, and you can just see what it does to the different sizes. So we're going to click here again. We're clicking here, and we're going to click here. So you can see how it changes without doing a thing based upon the screen size. We're working on the default 992. So that took care of that, and it tells us to save. Remember, constantly save your file. When you get this, update links, choose yes. Okay, continue to the next exercise, really, is what we're doing. Now we're going to copy content to the Bootstrap thing. This is going to be basically identical to what we did in one of the other exercises in the book. So what we're going to do here is the index file open. We're going to open up content, which actually you can open up from here. You can go File New. Let's get this over here. And you can see content is right here, so just double click. And this is a good time to remind you, in your website, the only thing that should ever be in the root directory is index. And possibly you may make a couple copies of the index files just to be on the safe side. The content, if you have a content, should be in a separate folder called content or something that's applicable. So let's double click on that. We're following the book, so I'm not going to make any changes. So you can see we have all kinds of stuff here. We're going to go into code view. And the first thing is going to tell us that we need to copy the content from lines 3 to 5 in there. You can select it however way you want to do it. I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to shift click at the end. Remember, click where you want to start, shift click where you want to end. You can drag it however way you want to do it. This is all selected. I'm going to go back to my image file, and let's see what it tells us to do. We're going to go use the code pane, copy and paste in here, make sure the image file in the document in the code pane, placing insertion point in the opening and closing div tags of the second column of the first row. So this is the first row, and this is the second column. Remember, the image is in the first column. So let's click in the second column, and we're going to go into code view. And you could do it right in code view as well. Now, all that did was select it. We want to be right here. And don't get this brown thing in here. This is just, look where the bouncing cursor is. That's where you're going to insert it. And then you're going to click on paste. Of course, apparently I did not click on copy. So let's click on copy. And we're going to go back to index. And it's still here. And I'm going to click on paste. Let's go back into live view and see what we have. We have all these things over here. Big changes in the wind. One of the things I don't like about this is I feel that a heading should be like a capital in every applicable world, just like a title. So let's just change this W. And I'm going to do it in code view, actually, because we're working in code view. And I'm going to change this to a W. And let's see what that looks like. I think that looks nicer in here. So we'll address that in another video. Then we're going to go back into page 349 is now done. And we're going to go to number 5 on page 350. So let's go into code view here. And let's go into code view here. And we're going to select lines 9 through 13, second row, first column. So here's 9. And we're going to go to 13. Let me move this out of the way. And we're going to copy. Go back to index. file, it says second row, first column. So I'm going to select it from here. First row, second row, first column. Going to click right here, and I'm going to choose paste. This time I did Control V. And I highly, highly recommend every time you do something, look on live and see what it did. Okay, well, we have a dilemma here, but that's going to get fixed later on. You can see how big and this picture really is, but that's no big deal. So let's go back to the content file. And the next one is 17 to 22, second row, second column. Again, you can select it however way you want to do it. First row, second column. Again, let's go back to live and see how that looks. Okay, pretty picture, but looks kind of ugly. No biggie. Back to content. Lines 26 to 32. 26 to 32. I'm hitting Control C. Then I'm going in here and Control V. And let's go back to live. And now we have these huge things. Kind of doesn't look good. So let's go back to code and make sure that I did not make a mistake. So we have first row in here, and boom. Okay, everything looks pretty good. Let's go back and see what we have. Okay, so now we have 3 ugly pictures that look like they've been shoved into a trash compressor. And then we have all kinds of stuff that kind of doesn't look all that great. But that's all explained to you in the book. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a class to each one of these images. The easiest way to add a class is click on the image. And now you have this nice little blue thing over here. It's already got an image class, which you can see down here. And we're going to click on, image is the actual placeholder. And we're going to just physically start typing in .I. And all the images that are available that begin with I are going to start showing up. We want image responsive. And boom. See how nice that does that. We're going to do the same thing here. .image responsive. And same thing here. .image responsive. And now we have something that looks pretty decent. Take a look at the bottom of page 350 and you can see that. And then if you want to, just make sure that you check all the different views that you can see. So let's go to here. You can see that the picture's big. It takes up the whole width and everything is placed underneath it. If you go to the second one, it's pretty much the same, only a little wider. Go to the third one. Now they're all in here. Now I don't really like this here, that it doesn't take up the full space, but that's not part of this project, so we'll worry about that at another time. And we'll go over here. Again, same thing over here. So that's it for this tutorial. We're going to pick up on page 352 in the next one that we're going to use CSS to format the page control. Again, please let me know if you have any questions at all, and I'd be more than happy to answer them. I'll make a video if you need me to. Please feel free to address these things when we have our next live session. Our live sessions are primarily for you. I will address certain things, but the most of the time, I want to make sure that your questions are answered. So have a wonderful, wonderful day.